What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Lowdown. I was gone for 2 weeks, so we got some stuff to talk about. Let's jump right in. So there's two big stories which I really want to talk about, but I won't have time to talk about this week. They are the new concussion protocols that are just released yesterday, and also the new catch rule being put in place. So those are two things that I'm going to talk about in next week's episode. This week, I'm going to focus on all the small stories and stuff to catch you guys up on what was missed. Now, the first story I want to talk about is, I don't know if it really matters to you guys as much as it does to me, but this season is the 10-year anniversary of the last time the Colts won the Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl 41 in 2006. Now, that was also their first and only Super Bowl to date. Now, this team included two already Hall of Famers, including the head coach, Tony Dungy, and wide receiver, Marvin Harrison. Now, it also included possible future Hall of Famers, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Jeff Saturday. Obviously, Peyton Manning will be first ballot, Reggie Wayne, and Adam Vinatieri. Again, this was the heyday for the Colts. They beat the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl in Miami. If you guys aren't really familiar, you'll probably know it from the very first play of the Super Bowl was Devin Hester running back to opening kickoff for like 100-something yards. It was crazy. So this story is a big deal to me because super nostalgic for me, as I've always been a massive Colts fan, so I'm really looking forward to that. And this team will all come out at halftime of the Week 11 matchup versus the Tennessee Titans. Again, I'm really looking forward to seeing all the guys back together. Honestly, just super excited to see that. And while we're talking about the Colts, we got a couple more stories to talk about. So the first one being that Peyton Manning has finally been cleared of his HGH scandal. It came out a couple days ago that the NFL has been looking into it for 7 months now, based on the Al Jazeera America report that I talked about before. Now, that list also included guys like James Harrison, Clay Matthews, Julius Peppers. So they were also all on that list for using substances like HGH. The first name to actually be clear of it, though, has been Peyton Manning. Now, the good thing about this is obviously it'll help Peyton Manning solidify his career as one of the most dominant players and quarterbacks in the game, also to come back from a huge neck injury and come back to win the Super Bowl. Now, they were investigating the HGH of when he came back from the neck injury as ways for him to help him get back to health as he started his career with the Broncos. Now, this story should be pretty much over. The last thing we'll see is that if Peyton Manning decides to sue Al Jazeera America for almost having him damage his career and possible sponsorships. And we got another Peyton Manning story. So the Colts have finally commissioned artist Ryan Feeney to make a statue of Peyton Manning to be put outside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, this statue will be ready by the 2017 season. And again, as a huge Peyton Manning fan, I'm obviously super excited to see it. Now, just to give you a heads up of maybe what the style it'll look like, although I'm not 100% sure. Here's a couple other of Ryan Feeney's work he's done in Indianapolis. The bird looks really cool. I doubt they'll do that kind of metal style, though. We'll see what happens. And the next story is that U.S. appeals courts have denied Tom Brady's request to reinvestigate the Deflategate scandal. Now, if you're unfamiliar, the Deflategate scandal came from back when the Patriots beat the Colts in the AFC Finals 2 years ago before they went on to play the Seahawks in the Super Bowl and win. What they said happened was with the Deflategate, what that meant is they slightly deflated the footballs to help make them easier to catch. Even though I'm a huge Colts fan, honestly, I don't think it made that big of a difference in the game because the lack of air maybe in the ball that happened was not that big of a factor when they handed the ball off to LeGarrette Blount every single play and he pounded it down the Colts defense. So even though it wasn't that big of a factor in the game, it could have slightly changed things in the passing game, so that's why the NFL has been looking into it. Now, last year, the suspension, Brady was given a 5-game suspension, then he appealed it, he won, then the appeal was reopened for this. Now Brady tried to re-appeal to get it looked into, to open it up again, to hopefully get his suspension for this season, a 4-game suspension, uplifted, and it was denied. Now, you might think this whole Deflategate is finally over, but it's actually not, because the one more thing that he could do is go to the Supreme Court to try to have them appeal it. That is his last and final option. Otherwise, he will be suspended 4 games. And the final story I want to talk about today is that if you guys know one of the first episodes of Lowdown, I talked about how the NFL was looking to do a deal with YouTube, and I said they totally missed out on the whole streaming market. Now, with this, the NFL has said that they are going to release 98 vintage games to the NFL YouTube page. Now, I know when you're thinking vintage, you're thinking super old games might not be interesting, but the way they actually classify vintage as memorable games, that means, so when they were doing their polls on Facebook to find out those 96 games, one of the ones that won was the Green Bay Packers versus Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl. So it's not actually super old games. It's just ones that are considered super memorable games to the whole entire NFL. Again, I'm really excited to see that, as I would love to watch a whole bunch of these old games, and especially some games that I've never even seen before. It'd actually be really cool for me. Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about is there was 3 big retirees in the last week. Now the first retiree this week is Darnell Dockett, the former D lineman for the Arizona Cardinals. If you don't know who he is, he was the first guy to bring a big grill on the scene. Really famous picture of him wearing the bars all across with the Oakley Iridium visor. He is retiring after 10 seasons in the NFL. The cornerback Charles Tillman is retiring after 13 seasons in the NFL. And finally, Greg Jennings, the former wide receiver for the Packers, the Dolphins, the Vikings, is retiring after 10 seasons. Now, crazy because they literally just put in the Greg Jennings rule. We're not allowed to wear hoodies anymore. He was the only one that actually did it, and now he's retiring. Their rule is completely useless. And with the July 15th, 4 p.m. deadline for contract signings, you know I got a lot to talk about here. Now, the first that obviously everyone knows about, it was heard everywhere across the NFL, is Von Miller has finally signed a deal with the Broncos. He signed a 6-year, $114.5 million deal with $70 million guaranteed and a $23 million bonus. The next is Arian Foster has signed a 1-year, $1.5 million deal with the Dolphins after being cut by the Texans because of all his injury issues, and that deal also includes $2 million in possible incentives. Raiders have also extended David Emerson's contract. Now they give him a 4-year, $38 million deal. Jets have also re-signed D lineman Muhammad Wilkerson to a 5-year, $85 million deal with a $15 million bonus, and $54 million of it is guaranteed. Justin Tucker also signed a 4-year, $16.6 million deal with $10 million of it guaranteed. Saints also signed Darryl Tapp to a 1-year deal, although no numbers have actually been released on it yet. Cowboys have also re-signed outside linebacker Justin Durant to a 1-year contract, and I couldn't find the numbers out. If you guys do, leave them down below so other people can see it as well. So there you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Lowdown. Again, I got a lot more to talk about next week, but for this week, if you want to contact me in any way, you can either check out lemonfootball.com, where you can get 60% off on retail products, so definitely check that out. Or if you want to contact me in any way, at lemonfootball on all my social media, hit me up there. Now, if you guys like this episode of Lowdown, don't forget to share it, as it is a big help to me, and especially please like it. If you're new here, I put out 3 videos every single week, so don't forget to subscribe for all the notifications. And as always, thanks.